Thursday, July 24th, and back here in the home studio after yesterday being down in Santa Clara to watch the opening day of 49ers training camp. Happy to be joined once again and twice this week by the one and only Sam Batesh. What's going on, pal? How you doing?
What a special week. The fact that we hit Monday the way that we did, there's not really a better way for me to start my week than that. And I always say TGIT, thank God it's Thursday, but we did. We had a Monday and now a Thursday. The benefit is there's been a lot that has transpired since then. The fact that you went to training camp, now it feels like this would be just like, okay, here's Damon again. I'm talking to him again, same week. But now I feel like you're a different person. There's new information that you now have, which is exciting. I get to hear this and I get to see exactly what you saw at training camp. So this conversation, this is inside information. A lot of the times we say we have insight, but now we really have insight. You were there. You saw these things in person.
The question that everyone has is, will the 49ers win the Super Bowl? Yesterday, I found out the answer to that question, and I will give it to you before the end of today's video. So it's that simple. I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen this upcoming football season due to one day of basically non-contact, only wearing helmets, just running around in underpants practice. I've seen it all, Sam.
Look, the league is ready. The league is ready for flag football, and you went and saw the first flag football practice yesterday. I mean, you truly that was an outstanding flag football team that you watched yesterday. So I'm excited about that.
We have achieved don't even need the season. I can tell you what's going to happen. No, seriously, it was good to be down there. By the way, thank you everyone for being here. Hit like and subscribe.
Please do. Please do.
Don't wait to the end of this live stream. Do it right now, and that'll help it get pushed across the algorithm, if you will. And look, I'll be pushing some Ike sandwiches on you before it's all said and done today. Thanks to our sponsor, Ike, our good friends at the Dubliner West Portal. We'll get to them in a second. But look, the number one thing to take away from a day of just basically saying, hey, that guy's in good shape, and hey, that guy runs really fast against the wind, and hey, that guy's really tall, and hey, that was a nice catch in the flat. Beyond all that, the biggest impression that I took away yesterday, Sam, was how ready to restart this whole thing everybody truly seemed to be. Kyle Shanahan talking to Tim Kawakami for his annual one-on-one that he gets to that he gives to
cool.
him, basically said that this is the start of a new 3-year window. You know, the old window, he kind of admit, yeah, that's the old window. This is a new 3-year window for the 49ers, and he's very excited about it. And I think that that's a smart, healthy, mature way to look at a football team's prospects and future. You know, a 3-year window is kind of what you want to really be operating in, because that's the roster that you're going to hope to assemble. Having said all of that, Shanahan, Sammy, he looks more rested, relaxed, and healthier than he has since the night he was in the Super Bowl in Vegas, and, you know, given he was there for media night, and it looked like he had maybe 1 or 2 cocktails in him, you know, like,
okay, that's all right. That's all right. I was going to say this much in regards to you going there and seeing how people look in person. It's so funny that we're used to people coming out with impressions of what the players look like. The fact that your number one takeaway is that Kyle Shanahan was the best looking man there, I think that's really interesting. I love that, but it may be most important that he is feeling good this season than everybody else. I mean, I would argue maybe McCaffrey, but the fact that Kyle Shanahan looked great, I love hearing that also.
Look good, feel good, play good. This is the formula that has stood the test of time, and I really mean it. You could just see Kyle's daubered down demeanor all last year. He couldn't offer a smile to a charity. Like, he couldn't just bring up any level of excitement or urgency or happiness, because all three were basically stolen from him in a season that just went off the rails before it really even got on him. Shanahan, again, his skin color looks right again. I know I sound like my grandmother when I say that. I really do. Oh, his skin color looks good. But that is something my grandmother would say.
But that's important. That's important.
Seriously, he was in a good mood. The smile was genuine, refreshed, relaxed, and ready to go. Kyle Shanahan, I think, is a dangerous Kyle Shanahan. I think that this is something that the NFL didn't really have to worry about last year, because as the team was off of its access, he seemed to be off of his own access. I said it many times, Sammy, with you, with Larry. it had looked like he had reached the coaching equivalent of writer's block. Here's Stephen King. He's just cranked out a whole bunch of great novels in a row, and now he is sitting at the typewriter looking at a blank page going, what's now?
What do I do now?
What
do I do now?
What story do I tell now? And it felt like he was just all out of the coaching oomph that really his career has been dotted with.
Well, when you say oomph, I just want to remind people, and it's funny, this league, now we always say this, do not take away a season from somebody. And normally when we're making this argument, we're saying don't take away someone's greatest season, right? It's easy for people to talk about former quarterbacks this way. Well, Matt Ryan, other than his MVP season, blank, blank, blank. Well, first of all, what does it matter? Oh, other the time that he was the best quarterback and the best player in all of football, how could you say other than that? It was the greatest thing he's ever done, right? Other than 2015, Cam Newton's MVP season, what did he really do? Well, he was an MVP.
That the both of us got married. We're still single men.
We're still single with no kids, right? Exactly. We're still single men with no kids. If you take away the day I got married and had a kid, yeah, okay, what, you're really going to take that away? I want to say the same thing, though, about the worst season in somebody's career. You also can't take that away. And what I want to remind people is Kyle Shanahan, in people's minds, Shanahan almost got eliminated from the list of the next genius coaches in this league. And I want to remind everyone that list goes something like this. The genius guys. I'm not talking Andy Reid, Nick Sirianni, who are both at the top of their game. Obviously, they were in the Super Bowl. I'm talking McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur. You want to add anyone else to that? I'm talking about these guys who are given credit. I mean, most of them come from that Mike Shanahan Washington tree, right? But these are the guys that are considered the in the numbers genius guys. Right. And it's those three.
Still in that, on that NFL best under 50 list.
Yes. Yes. It's Shanahan, LaFleur, McVay. It's still, those three are sort of the mad scientist genius guys that people give credit. Ben Johnson's gonna. I think Ben Johnson's gonna be on that list now too because of what he did offensively in Detroit last season. So, if you're talking about those three, unfortunately, yeah, McVay was in the playoffs last season, and LaFleur was in the playoffs last season, and Shanahan wasn't. And I just want to remind everyone: don't think that in a season that had 6 wins, that Kyle Shanahan forgot everything that had the 49ers in the NFC Championship twice. With Kyle Shanahan in the NFC Championship 3 times, in the Super Bowl twice. I mean, Kyle Shanahan understands what he's doing and frankly knows how to get more out of less than most coaches in this league. And you could argue other than maybe 3 or 4 coaches in this league, Shanahan does more with less more often than not. Period.
There was a Warren Sharp stat that as he was examining how disappointing the 49ers were in the red zone and how handcuffed Brock Purdy was with a diminished offensive line and wide receivers, which couldn't show up healthy, and no Christian McCaffrey for the majority of the year. An injured George Kittle a few times a year. The 49ers still had the second most explosive plays in all of football. They still gobbled up an awful lot of yardage in between the 30s, and they still got quite a bit of offense out of an offense that didn't do enough scoring. But if yardage carried the afternoon, they would have won a lot more afternoons than they actually lost.
And think about red zone. Red zone without Debo and red zone without McCaffrey spells a big handcuff for your offense. Those are guys that both know how to find the end zone. And when Debo wasn't healthy and McCaffrey was unavailable, that hurts considerably in that tight window. And by the way, I think I stole an NFC Championship appearance from Shanahan. I believe it's 4. Am I right? Right? They obviously lost to the Eagles and then lost to the Rams. And then they went to the Super Bowl twice with Shanahan.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's 4. Right. So it's 4 there. Yeah, exactly.
Let's get it right.
Come on.
Look, it's an important season for everyone involved. Obviously, there's no resting on any laurels when you have no Super Bowls. And obviously, Shanahan and John Lynch are going to be under a hotter, more intense microscope than ever before this year. Shanahan, it's not like he's reapplying for the job, but he needs to reestablish himself, I think, as one of the elite play callers in this league, and hopefully has the right guys to do that. He's got Robert Saleh, who should just take his mind totally off that defense and let him just bury his work on the offensive side of the ball, which is pretty much all he's done throughout his career anyways. But now with that defense not failing him, Hopefully things get a little bit easier. And again, a special teams that's actually working to try to win you games, not working on behalf of the other team. Can't wait to see what that looks like.
We should maybe do this. You've got a shop, Damon. You've got a cool gear shop where people can buy stuff associated with Damon Bruce Plus, right?
Merch.
Right? You got merch. You got a merch shop. And I don't quite have one yet at Thinking Out Loud, Siciliano and Sam. I'm going to work on that, by the way. I'm going to get with you on that and throw some merch out there and start to get some maybe, pro Philly stuff in the mix there. But in regards to the merch shop, you know what I think would be an awesome thing to show up at training camp with? And we should make this. We should put it out there. We should make shirts. This should look like a political ticket. I think Shanahan Saleh, as your sort of president, vice president, should be something that we infuse to the fans, that we give people an opportunity to do, because it is that ticket, it is that combination, which is the thing that is most different and exciting about this season as opposed to what was last season. The biggest strength that the Niners have heading into this season is that combination. That is the running ticket that you would say has a chance to be in the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. Shanahan Saleh, I think we should put together, we'll get with somebody to give us some graphics on that, but I really do. I think Shanahan Saleh as your president, vice president t-shirt would be cool to have a training camp right now. And maybe a theme throughout the entire season, because it is really, if we just said it, genius. Shanahan is considered an offensive genius, and Saleh was the guy that backed him up, guiding them to a Super Bowl appearance, and I think that's the way to go.
By the way, can I put this up and have you vamp on it for a little bit? Because I got to go hit the bathroom real quick.
Look, Damon, some of the things people can look forward to on Thursdays is that Sammy is here.
Be right back.
It's completely fine. So I love that Damon does this, and he's got to take a leak, and it's part of just getting, once you're over 40, this is an option. But the reason we're going to look at this is because in a few minutes, I want everyone to consider what this 49ers season could be. And I also want us to compare with a team that you're not going to expect. Everyone expects us to compare the Niners with the NFC West teams, and specifically the Rams. We're always talking about Niners and Rams, and we think that those are the two teams that are going to vie for this division, and that is true. But today, I want us to compare to a team that is actually in the AFC, because I want to remind people that there's another team that we should associate the Niners with. The Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers. Not the Los Angeles Rams, but the Los Angeles Chargers. Jim Harbaugh was the Niners coach, had the Niners in that Super Bowl that they lost to the Ravens, of course, and Harbaugh had this team with Alex Smith, with Colin Kaepernick, in position to win a Super Bowl, and it didn't happen. Now he is back in the league, and he's with the Chargers, and I want to make that comparison when Damon gets back of where do we think the Niners are going to end up in 2025? And where do we think the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh are going to end up in 2025? And as we compare what Shanahan is doing, I want to compare it not only to the teams around him in the NFC West, but I also think having an eye on what's happening with the Chargers is interesting, just because that was the former regime that had this team in a place to dominate. It was with Harbaugh. But when you look at this, which of these bets would you be most excited to make? I'm not going to say most confident, because most confident should be make playoffs, but it's not going to win you a lot. It's minus 210. The win total is an interesting one to go over here, and I think that's one where you could make a little money, but you got to love 11 wins. Now, you and I have been through, Damon and I have gone through.
I think it's happening.
We counted 11 pretty quick. But eventually I want to get to it, Damon. We don't have to do it right now. I teased everybody on what we're going to do. I wanted to remind everybody that when you're thinking about Shanahan this season, you're thinking about the Niners, don't just compare to the NFC West, because there is a team in the AFC that I want us to have our eye on as another comparison, because I do think there is a connection now for these years, as long as Harbaugh's there and Shanahan's here. And frankly, as long as Harbaugh's anywhere not in San Francisco, I think Niner fans have the ability to look at that other team with Harbaugh and say, okay, could have been, if we could have held on to Harbaugh. Now, granted, Harbaugh, what's the knock on Harbaugh? That he burns bright and hot for 4 to 5 years, and then everyone burns their hand on the stove, and he's got to get out of there, and he moves on. But while he's there, look what he does. He's got Stanford in a position to compete on a real level. He's got the Niners in a Super Bowl. He's got a championship for Michigan. And now he's trying to take the Chargers somewhere they haven't been, which probably would be winning that division first. But if he can get the Chargers in the Super Bowl, Harbaugh is undefeated everywhere he's been.
It's just another ghost that's chasing Kyle Shanahan, right? Shanahan is chasing his own ghost of winning his own Super Bowl. He's got his father's shadow lingering over him at all times. He's got now Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL, who, it is unfair to measure him against him because he's got his own guy to measure him against, which is Sean McVay, which is enough of a guy to be measured against. And even though he's got an awful lot of regular season ownage, there is a little something called an NFC title game that turned into a Super Bowl, which gives, no matter what regular season ownage Shanahan had over McVay now has the trump card. I won the big one. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I remember when this was, I remember when it was Harbaugh versus Pete Carroll. That was one of the biggest coaching matchups in all of football for a minute there, with all due respect to the Dallas Cowboys and their 6 other teams that think that they're the Cowboys' premier rival. By the way, the 49ers are definitely one of the Cowboys' premier rivals. But 49ers and Seahawks was the highest priced poker game in the NFL for years there.
That defined the NFC West. And Damon, let's launch into this. I just want to remind you that after we have this conversation, I want to get back, because I did want to ask you about 2 guys at camp, but we'll get to it later because we've done, but I do want to ask about Jennings because I know he was there and that was cool that he was there, but we'll put a pin in that. We'll put a pin in that. And I want to get to exactly what you just set up. There are really the obvious rivals in the NFC West. And now that McVay Shanahan thing is fascinating. And I want to say this is a chance now this season for it to get right back at it. I mean, the first matchup last season was both teams were injured. Both teams, because Stafford did not have his weapons in that. I believe that was a no Cup and Nakua game, if I remember correctly. I believe both guys were out in that game for Stafford. So. And then obviously, and then the Niners, they didn't have, I believe, it may have been Aiyuk, Debo, and Kittle were not in that game, if I remember correctly, because that was the Jennings 175 3 scores game. So that was an incredible game there with Purdy and Jennings. But that first game, we still believed that both could vie for the division. By the time the second game came around, it wasn't quite at that point because the Niners season was getting away from them with injuries. But this division so often has come down to those two. And I want you to relive a game that many people have now put away in their history because it's not a pretty moment. But the Niners and the Rams in the NFC Championship in the 2021 season, that game, now it looks now because obviously the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl. It's sort of forgotten. The NFC Championship is sort of not as big a moment there in a way because, again, the Rams beat Brady that season. That was pretty cool. They stormed away. They had a 27-3 lead, gave it all the way back, and then kicked a field goal to win that game. The Rams did. And the Rams beat the Cardinals in the wild card Monday night game. But that NFC Championship game, I want to remind everyone of this, first of all. Number one, before that game, Damon, it was, I believe, 6 straight. I believe it was 6 straight that Shanahan had beaten McVay heading into that game. Now, granted, that game was in LA, not in San Francisco. The Rams were hosting that game. But so it was
all SoFi Stadium is Candlestick South. The 49ers had more fans at that NFC title game than the Rams did.
It was glorious from a San Francisco standpoint. And I want to remind everyone, you can tell me the player perhaps I'm forgetting, but who dropped, there was an interception that the Niners dropped an interception in that game. This wasn't Garoppolo to Sanders on that miss from the Super Bowl, right. but the Niners had a chance on defense to put that game away, and it did not happen. And the Rams came back to win that game. But there was a moment the Niners were so close to being in that Super Bowl against the Bengals instead of the Rams. That game was, yeah, please.
Jaquiski Tart.
You're so right. You're so right. It was a Jaquiski lemon tart. Absolutely right there. Right? It was, and that would have been the game. That was like Tuck ruled Beekert and Woodson on the ball with Brady in the snow. Game over if he makes that interception. It was done, and the ball was dropped, and that's okay. Look, when you're playing defense and not offense, and the ball's in your hand, you drop it. I always like to say, okay, that's why he's not a wide receiver. Right. So Tart's not a wide receiver for that reason, but there are those moments.
Walk up to your car and I hand you an Egg McMuffin through your window. I'm going to assume that you can handle that.
That was such a moment, and I understand since that time there's been more heartbreak for the Niners, and that's why Tart's name, some forget it over time, but it is there. That Tart moment was there. So again, 6 straight that McVay essentially is getting wiped by Shanahan. And then in what we can all consider the most important matchup they've ever had, McVay comes over on it. So that rivalry is real. That rivalry is real because, again, it's in the division, and it also played a part in getting to the Super Bowl and an NFC championship.
Well, and they were also, young men coming up in the coaching world together. Yes. They were quality control guys for Shanahan in DC. When Mike Shanahan was in his final years and ruining Robert Griffin III's knee. And those are fun and interesting days. Matt LaFleur was a part of that. Now the whole, let's talk about who is a rival with who. There was a lot of, Shanahan, LaFleur, because LaFleur was a 49er guy for a little bit there, but then Shanahan had put it over on LaFleur, and there really isn't a rivalry there. It's all one-sided. But it is interesting to see that now it won't take long for somebody else to also pivot to, not only are we measuring Kyle against himself, against his ghosts, and against NFL history, we get to now measure him again directly against Jim Harbaugh. And
if you needed another reason, by the way,
49ers Chargers in the preseason, I believe.
I believe you're right. And I just want to remind everyone in San Francisco, because look, when I was in the Bay Area, I felt this a lot. And I grew up in Southern California, and I'm still here. And I just want to remind everyone that's listening here, all the San Francisco fans and the people that associate with San Francisco, I want to remind them of one thing. There is a rivalry, San Francisco towards LA. San Francisco hates Los Angeles, hates Southern California, not so much San Diego, but Los Angeles. People in San Francisco hate Los Angeles for a number of reasons. Of course, there's Giants, Dodgers. Now there's this beautiful Niners, Rams thing. And we're going to add to it that Niners Chargers gets to now be a part of this because of Harbaugh and Niners
Warriors,
fans.
Lakers, Steph LeBron. Of
course, exactly. Yeah. And I just remind everyone that in LA, there's
Rafael
almost
Devers, Shohei Ohtani.
yes. But there's almost no. The funny thing is, being in LA, there's almost no hatred the other way. It's like when people don't necessarily think of San Francisco in that way in LA. There's not a hatred towards the city. There are those little sports rivalries, but it seems like San Francisco hates LA for being LA, and LA appreciates, like, oh, it's nice. We can go to the Bay Area. It's kind of fun. We go to San Francisco.
Right. I love San Francisco.
Exactly. LA has no hatred towards San Francisco, which would tell you that they sort of feel like they own the dominant part of that rivalry as well. But I want to tell everyone there is now a new reason to hate LA, because I think you can add Chargers to Rams as disliking teams in LA if you are a Niners fan, because I think the Harbaugh thing should bother you. If the Chargers have a better season than the Niners, it should bother you. And by the way, it already happened. Last season, we can count it. It did happen. Harbaugh right now had a better season taking the Chargers to the playoffs than the 6-win Niners last season. A lot of excuses or a lot of reasons behind that, but it happened.
All I can tell you, how many interceptions did Herbert throw in that playoff game? 4. If Brock Purdy ever threw 4 interceptions in a postseason, much less one individual game, they'd be pushing him off the Golden Gate Bridge. And
it almost happened, by the way. Christmas Day against the Ravens. That was an ugly one for Purdy. That was a rough one. Kyle Hamilton was basically Brandon Aiyuk in that game, but
not a playoff game.
Not a playoff game. A Christmas game, but not a playoff game. And you're right. And 4 in a playoff game is going to be tough. And that's the big one for certainly for Harbaugh to solve. But why don't we do this? Why don't we have a little fun? Niners or Chargers, better season. What's going to happen with that rivalry? We've got right in front of us, if you want. We can go through this and just look at the Niners and the Chargers seasons. The funny thing is, I think the over-under on both of these is 10.5. 10.5 Niners, 10.5 Chargers. And if you're trying to make a bet, which one is a more likely bet, we can look at it right now. I think the Niner season is great to go through. I think we can get to 11 pretty easily.
We can get to 11 wins. Let's check out Los Angeles, which we're less familiar with. All right. Week 1 Chiefs in Brazil.
Now, what does that do for you? Now, look, here, I want everyone to look at this. Look at week 15. Now, the interesting thing about the Brazil game is it steals the Chargers' home game against the Chiefs. All right. So they get a split. Obviously, divisionally, they played this team twice. The game in Kansas City is week 15. So that week 1 game, which would have been an at LA game, is now in Brazil. So if you think the Chargers are going to split with the Chiefs, which you very may well, considering how close they played last season. But remember, this is a neutral site and an at Kansas City, not an at LA and at Kansas City. So it's just something to keep in mind week 1 in Brazil.
Let's call it a 1-2 start, right?
Yeah.
They lose to the Chiefs, beat the Raiders, lose to the Broncos, so now they're 0-2 in their own division, and Harbaugh is not going to like that.
Nope.
They beat the Giants. Commanders game's pretty damn interesting.
Yeah, it is. At least it's in LA. At least it's in LA.
At Dolphins, again, long road trip, other side of the country, not set up to go win it, but we'll see. I wouldn't put that past the Chargers to do it. Colts, I think they're better than the Colts. Vikings, Thursday nighter, total coin flip right now.
Interesting, by the way, Harbaugh, JJ McCarthy, that's fun, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Titans, don't know, call it a win. Steelers, call that a win. Jaguars, call that a win. Bye. Raiders again, Eagles, it's a tough game. At Chiefs, that's a loss. At Cowboys, I don't know. I don't know if you can just find 11.
I think you can get to 10. You can get to 10, and that's why Vegas, and not the Raiders, but Vegas, Las Vegas, the city, the lights, and the sports books, that's why it's so smart. Because 10, you could wrap your head around. 10.5 is where it gets interesting. Can you get 11? And I think, frankly, as interesting as this is, and as much as there's always the overreaction of week 1, but when you face the Chiefs week 1, I think you can overreact. That's a game they have to win. If they want to win this division, if Harbaugh's going to do what he really needs to do to establish that he has put his stamp on this organization, winning that division and therefore being better than the Chiefs is the most important thing. And that means unless you plan on winning in Kansas City, you've got to win in Brazil week 1, which, by the way, the greatest bye week of all time starts right now, training camp. Your bye week, your prep for the Chiefs started yesterday. Right? I mean, think about it. The greatest bye week is all the weeks you have leading up to week 1. That's right. The biggest bye week you've got. The most prep you have for any game all season, including if you get the bye week for the Super Bowl, after your bye week during the regular season, the bye week if you get the 1 seed. Forget all that.
Right. You're never going to have 8 weeks to prepare.
You're not going to have 3 months to think about one game, and that's it. And it's not, they don't open. This isn't opening against Carolina. They open against the Chiefs. So that game, of all the teams that get to panic about week 1, Chargers got a rough one. Chargers got a rough. They got to make a statement immediately. And look, the Chiefs are certainly not a stranger to losing week 1. We remember 2 seasons when they lost to the Lions. I mean, this does happen, and we could very well see that. But to me, it looks on paper like the Niners will have more regular season wins. But I want to remind everyone, Damon, and certainly everyone in this chat, we don't judge the season based if they both make the playoffs, right? This is going to be about who wins more playoff games. Frankly, it's going to be, where do you lose? Are you losing in the Super Bowl? Are you losing in the conference championship game? Are you losing in the divisional? Are you losing in the wild card? I think they're both playoff teams, and that's what it's going to come down to. Where does your season end? And that's how we'll judge who had a better season. Right now, I feel because of the way the division is stacked, the Niners still have, at the moment on paper, a better shot at hosting and winning a wild. The Niners can host and win a wild card game right now. That's how I see it.
SF Indigo says 49ers Chargers isn't a rivalry. Stop, get some help. We're not saying that they're rivals, but we're saying this is just yet another measuring stick.
It is
that's going to be applied to, is Kyle Shanahan a good coach? Well, until he wins a Super Bowl, a lot of people will say no. And, Jim Harbaugh sort of lives under that house too, right?
He does.
You won a championship in Ann Arbor. Congratulations. But it's not the NFL, and your brother beat you straight up. So
And I want to get Ernberger on this. If you don't like Kyle Shanahan, that means you think there's a coach that's better than him that can do this job and win a game that you think he's incapable of winning, whether he's the offensive coordinator of the Falcons or the head coach of the 49ers. And that means you're comparing him to either, frankly, ghosts of the past, Bill Walsh. And I'm saying now, Jim Harbaugh is a ghost of your past. He is a coach who, frankly, maybe could have done something that Kyle Shanahan hasn't.
A ghost of the past who is still haunting the mansion that the entire league lives in. And he's got the key to Shanahan's room, and he's going to jingle some chains, and someone's going to make the comparison. All right, we're
doing it. I just want to remind everyone, just do it. Here's another one.
We did it first. You're welcome, everybody. Speaking of Kurt the Chameleon, he says football's so close. I am so pumped, and so am I, man. I really did. Yesterday, I was bouncing around. I felt a little better, felt a little lighter, I was ready to go, man. It was fun being down in training camp. By the way, if you're a fan going to training camp, bring binoculars, because the 49ers have set up the fan area in the back corner of the actual practice fields. And there could be as many as 3 football fields of distance between you and the field that the 49ers are working out on. they need to rethink that a little bit. They got a new they have new fields planted out there, and they rejiggered how the fields sit on their practice area. And they've got 3 full 100-yard fields to practice on now. Oof. Which, is great, I guess. But I'm also going to tell you, when they were practicing in Redwood City, they won 2 Super Bowls coming out of a lawn shed that they got at Home Depot and a 50-yard practice field. I was joking around with it. I was talking to Bob. You remember Bob Sargent, right?
Of course I do. Yeah.
I was talking to Bob Sargent, and I'm like, can you believe that, like, they won 5 Super Bowls working out of a lawn shed? And he was like, oh, no, not even that lawn shed. He was like, they used to be in Redwood City. And, we both agreed that you can have a 50-yard practice field as long as you have Joe Montana. You can still win big.
That helps. And I was going to say this much in regards to the lawn shed. What were they conferring with the A's on how to set things up for maybe for a press box and what?
There were some bleachers
okay.
for fans to sit in. There was a little shade provided, but the action was happening far away from the fans. Like, I even joked around with Bob. I was like, hey, Bob, do you think you can get some of those fans back a little bit more?
Yeah,
there might be a kid sending texts to a friend in Seattle about formations, and the Seahawks see that.
By the way, speaking of sun in your eyes and whatnot, remember when Harbaugh was there when they were coming up with Levi Stadium? Harbaugh had him change. They were actually going to be on one sideline, and Harbaugh went to visit the site, and he said, "You can't put us on this sideline. We're in the sun the entire time." So It was switched so that, which is brilliant. That's the kind of home field advantage you should have. But imagine had they done that and not had his opinion, and it just came out the sun was burning him.
This is what pissed off Jed York, because the way that the 49ers were supposed to take the field was to walk through that club on that sideline and have all of the, high-priced fans being able to reach out and touch a Niner as they're walking past them onto the field. And nope, Jim Harbaugh was like, none of that. We want shade. And oh, by the way, everyone on that side of the football field will want shade, including the person who strokes out and dies in your first game ever because there's no shade provided at Levi Stadium. And again, don't get me going on Levi Stadium.
No, I know you don't like it. So one thing I just want to have for the chat here.
Before we go any further, before one other thing.
Please.
Let me tell everyone where to go to lunch.
Yes.
Because you want to make a good plan today. It starts with a good lunch plan. And I'm telling you, the right plan is to go to Ike's. I hope there's an Ike's around you. If not, I hope there will be one soon. Consider moving to an Ike's location, at least in their delivery area. It is ever expanding, ever growing, eastward growing empire all over the West Coast now. A new spot opening in San Diego. Ike's has got a delicious sandwich for you. Sign up for the Ike's Love Rewards program. Think of Ike's catering when you're ordering for a party, a backyard, whatever, get together, your office lunch. Check out Ike's. He is our main sponsor here on the Plus, and we thank Ike very, very much. Our friends at the Dubliner are ready to pour you the best Guinness in all of San Francisco. Dubliner West Portal is where you need to go to say hi to Kenny and John. You go in there, you tell them the Plus sent you. They love hearing that. And I love saying that the Plus sent you to the Dubliner. Great bar. It ain't trying to be anything other than a great bar. Go find out for yourself. You're going to walk in. You're going to be like, all right, this is what a bar is supposed to be. This works. It works. And there you go. There you go. Thanks so much to our sponsors. Again, hit like and subscribe. For those of you who are running into a certain ad pops up and then our video won't start again, terribly sorry. I've actually emailed YouTube about this saying, you're fucking my shit up, YouTube. Let's go. So, but I hear you. It's not just you. It's happening. Okay. All right.
So, Damon, I wanted to just ask the chat one thing. Now, there are those that are pushing back that saying the Chargers are not a rival, and that's okay. I understand it's not a traditional rival.
When we're talking about the least important teams in the NFL, the Chargers remain among them. I don't care.
Without question.
We don't think of the Chargers unless they are literally on the schedule or in front of you. They're a team that has never really mattered to the NFL.
And I want to remind everyone this. So we asked about a rivalry coaching-wise with McVay and Shanahan. But speaking of the Chargers, I just like we're the first to say that maybe you want to look at Harbaugh if you're comparing Shanahan to something. I want to ask if this is a rivalry worth looking at now. The Chargers and the Raiders just got more interesting because now that Pete Carroll is in the AFC West with Harbaugh, they get to renew a rivalry, which, by the way, spans not only the NFC West with those awesome games that you were talking about with the Seahawks and the Niners. What about Stanford and USC, where Pete Carroll was owning what was then the Pac-12, which looks nothing like it now. But back then, he was dominating everyone, Pete Carroll, in college football. And guess who, with Andrew Luck, came in and upset his party was, again, Jim Harbaugh. So Harbaugh and Carroll have a long-standing, beautiful rivalry that now we get all over again in another NFL division. And I ask, which is a better rivalry, McVay and Shanahan, which we get to see in the NFC West, or will we have a new one now in the AFC West with Carroll and Harbaugh renewed?
It's going to be up to those teams to answer that question correctly, right? Let's say both the Rams and the 49ers are huge disappointments, and all of a sudden the Chargers and the Raiders somehow aren't. Well, then they're going to carry the day. But I just think that, I really like the Pete Carroll hire by the Raiders. I do. But until the Raiders overcome underperforming like the Raiders always seem to, it's hard to, again, like the Chargers, take them that seriously.
That's fine, but at least, can we say at least this much? There were some makeovers this offseason across the NFL. And you could argue the Steelers looked the most different from what they were a season ago. You've got no Russell Wilson, no Justin Fields, insert Aaron Rodgers. Right. You've got no Pickens, and you've got DK Metcalf, right? So that's and you also have no Minka Fitzpatrick, right? And you got Jalen Ramsey. So that's ultimately incredibly different from what we know of Pittsburgh. But the Raiders, you're talking about new head coach, no Antonio Pierce, Pete Carroll, Ashton Genty, who could be the next, and I'm talking the next Saquon Barkley in regards to, remember, rookie season, all you that had him on fantasy for the Giants. I'm talking early in his Giants career, Saquon Barkley, you could have an Ashton Genty, and you got Geno Smith at quarterback. I mean, to change everything you do essentially offensively and at your head coach position, I mean, the Raiders may have had the greatest makeover of anyone this offseason, so they're a huge question mark, but I think it's a question mark followed by an exclamation point, and certainly right now, it feels like it's trending in the right direction.
Look, the NFL's better when the Raiders are a team that matters.
If they're relevant, that's more fun.
Give me the Raiders mattering. It always makes things. And look, they're going to have Raider Mort up in heaven pulling levers for him.
I'm glad you said that. And by the way, yeah. For those that knew and loved Raider Mort like Damon and I did, what a special person he is, and I'm so glad that he exists, immortalized essentially in Canton as well. I mean, Raider Mort is a Hall of Famer in the fan section of the Hall of Fame in Canton, and Raider Mort deserves that. And we love you, Raider Mort.
So it was great being down at training camp again. You get your first look at guys. I'm going to tell you right now, Alfred Collins is so big. He makes the rest of the 49ers defensive line look small.
That's hard to do.
They're not small.
No, they're not.
The 49ers defensive line is not a small defensive line, but Collins just towers over everyone, and it feels like he is wider than 1.5 of anyone else. CJ West looked really good. Mikael Williams, who has gotten the easiest first round draft pick ride that any 49er first round draft pick has ever gotten. No one's even talking about him.
All.
Like, he's the kind of guy who's got to go up affect this season. It's more Alfred Collins and CJ West. But Mikael Williams very much looked the part. Again, they're just, they're getting off on snap drills with Chris Kasurik yelling hike in their ear. There's no pads here yet. But man, these guys look pretty damn good for rookies and their first day of official practice, all out there together. And that's all you can do. You get your eyes on guys. Nick Martin seems to have put on 10 pounds of muscle from just the guy we saw about 6.5 weeks ago in rookie mini camp. He looked just jacked, ready to go. There are two guys, and this just shows you, Sam, that everybody in the NFL is big, fast, strong, right? Big, fast, strong, you'd think gets you a ticket to the dance. It really doesn't, because everybody is carrying those 3 cards with them. But the 49ers seriously have 2 wide receivers who have done nothing career-wise. One of them has been in the league for a while. The other is an undrafted rookie, so we're not going to hold it against them. But they got 2 wide receivers that have the body of Randy Moss. I mean, they have 2 wide receivers that if you look at them, you're going to assume, so they have 2 Pro Bowl caliber wide receivers here.
Amazing.
And the truth is neither guy might even make the roster. I'm talking about Equiminius St. Brown.
What a name. By the way, Hall of Fame name for sure. Equanimous is just that wins it right out of the gate.
It's incredible. Consider that his father totally like made it up and made up the saint.
I love that. That.
There is no St. Brown.
Just give me a saint. Saint Patesh, Saint Bruce. Saint Bruce is nice. I mean, Saint Bruce Plus. Saint Bruce Plus has also got a nice ring to it. So give it to me.
Equiminius St. Brown is 28 years old. He is 6'5", 214 pounds. Little thin. I didn't like the fact that he wore like a loose long sleeve shirt under his jersey either. Like, it's not cold enough out here for loose long sleeves.
No one needs that.
You know, hit the weight room and get some guns that you want to show off. Like, give us tickets to the gun show. I don't like when guys are hesitant to show off their bodies.
No,
you know, in good weather. 0 catches in 2 games last year for the Saints. He's been a 6-year-long NFL journeyman. His brother is obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So his brother is a superstar.
Absolute Pro Bowl. Not too many better than him. His brother is a physical freak of nature who just, I don't know, can't catch a football? I don't know. And I guess that's the same thing for Isaiah Nayer. Dude, you've probably talked about him with Kruger because Kruger loves, the dreaming about what a prospect might be more than anybody. But Isaiah Nayer, 24 years old, he is 6'4", 218, undrafted out of Nebraska. And this kid must not be able to catch a cab, much less a cold, to have been undrafted. But I tell you, he was out there yesterday. I saw him make a few really nice catches. I mean, what if one of those guys turns into like a real X factor of this upcoming year?
Well, it could be. I mean, look, Ricky Pearsall is, I would say, in most people's eyes, Ricky Pearsall, the thing they know him for most is unfortunately being shot in the offseason last year. That's still Ricky Pearsall's greatest introduction to anyone that is not following the Niners.
For a guy who was doing side work with the hamstring situation, he was running hard, cutting hard. I think Ricky Pearsall is going to be back with the team this weekend. So
I love that. And a guy I want to ask you about is, as we're looking at question marks at wide receiver and maybe plugged. I mean, St. Brown is nice right now. It feels right. It almost feels better for the position that was acquired as opposed to the player. It's sort of just you don't want to see us adding wide receivers, but of all the conversation that we had and that the world has had from a headline standpoint, Jauan Jennings is the receiver that I still think the beginning of this season and the first 4 games on this schedule are going to hinge on Jennings Purdy. I think that's really where it's going to come down to. None of us expect to see Aiyuk for a while. Jennings is the guy on the roster right now who active on the roster has the most catches with Purdy. And that's going to be what this comes down to. He, despite what we consider a contract dispute, was out there at training camp. But for you, what was the sense around Jennings? Whether it was Shanahan's response, whether it was Jennings on the field, whether it was the fans, what was it like? What is Jennings?
Out there working like a dog, man. Jennings, there was, he seemed as excited and bouncy and ready to go as anybody out there. No moping around, no half-stepping from Jennings. Everything you want in that guy. He brought his lunch pail to work yesterday. Again, it's also a lot easier to have a contractual situation hanging over your head and you're just out here really jogging today. Like when the pads go on Monday, maybe things change a little, right? Because that's when your vulnerability goes up. Although it's funny, Shanahan believes the opposite. Shanahan cannot wait to get through these unpadded practices. He thinks guys are safer when they put the pads on. And there's a part of me that too. I think a lot of people do hurt themselves at like half speed or half going through something where you hurt yourself less often at full speed. At least that's kind of a football untested scientific philosophy.
Well, again, I mean, pads are designed. I mean, you can look at it one of two ways. Pads are designed for guys to hit each other harder, or pads are designed to protect you. And that's the simplest explanation, right? I mean, when you're learning how to ride a bike or a scooter or roller blades or roller skates, you've got knee pads on to protect you, not so you can bang knees with somebody harder. It's to protect you. So in many cases, the pads are there to protect you from getting hit and from making hits. So it's perfectly logical that is the case, and we will see if he is feeling up to it when the pads are on. That's a great point by you. Right now, it's fine, but will he be a little under the weather or a little tweaked if at that point he's putting the pads on?
I'll be back down in Santa Clara on Monday because that's when the pads go on. So you got to have NFL mandates 4 of these breeze practices that they're having right now. Everyone in training camp has to go through 4 practices before pads go on. So yesterday was practice day number 1. Today, Thursday, practice day number 2. Friday, practice day number 3. Saturday, off day for everybody. Sunday, breeze day, final breeze day number 4. And then Monday, pads and football start for real. And that's when I'm going back down to Santa Clara. And Larry and I were talking about how we're going to get a wake up together on Monday. We might do it live together from Santa Clara. Both get down there early and figure it out. We'll talk about it tomorrow when we're doing a wake up. One of the other things that was going on yesterday was a sideline conversation that Kruger and I were having when we were looking at running back Israel Abanikanda.
Oh, man.
Izzy Abanikanda yesterday, you know the way a Lamborghini looks fast even when it's parked?
Parked, yeah.
Like a Ferrari looks fast parked. A Honda Civic does not look fast parked.
Not the same. Maybe if it's lowered, but yeah, no.
Izzy Abanikanda looks like he has the body type potential, the sleekness, the speed, the size, the shiftiness of an absolute Pro Bowl caliber stud running back. And Larry and I were both saying, look at this guy. And he doesn't even have a shot. He is buried on this team's depth chart. And this guy, if he ain't a real NFL running back, what are we even doing here watching practice? Because you get nothing from it if that kid is not a real freaking NFL running back. And sure enough, today, the 49ers waived Israel Abanikanda to sign wide receiver Quintez Cephas, who, if you're a Big Ten guy, he's like one of the only wide receivers you ever noticed playing at Wisconsin a few years ago. 6'1", 208, spent his last 3 years in Detroit, 37 catches, 22 games, 568 yards, 4 career touchdowns. Again, not much of an anything, but they're bringing in him. I don't know if that's a statement on them not being impressed with St. Brown or not, but it's, you know, they've added 2 wide receivers 2 days into training camp here. I think that they need Keenan Allen. I mean, I think that you're signing these street guys and these don't know much guys because you haven't just bucked up and signed Keenan Allen.
I know you like Keenan Allen, and I sent you something on this. By the way, Abanikanda will be on a roster this season. Abanikanda is going to be on, and here's why. Because running back in this league, as much as we had the resurgence out of Saquon and the resurgence out of Derrick Henry, we all know that running backs are really cycled through quickly, and a lot of teams enjoy having 2 and 3 backs that they can absolutely count on. And Jacksonville went through running backs last season. Cincinnati went through running backs last season. The Niners went through running backs last season. There's a lot of teams that know that you got to rotate through to really have a chance. The Cowboys, frankly, could use another. The Cowboys are thin at running back the way the Niners are thin at wide receiver. I could see Abanikanda ending up in Dallas as someone to take a look at because they don't have that thing solved at all in Dallas, and they haven't for 2 seasons. I hate what the Cowboys are doing with their running game, and I could see that. And frankly, Kyle Shanahan's probably going to have Abanikanda back because he knows what it's like when you start losing running backs. And I'm not talking about losing McCaffrey, but when you lose depth behind McCaffrey, it's nice to have guys like that. I could see Abanikanda showing up back in San Francisco, if not somewhere else. But
here's the thing, though. You're not giving Abanikanda carries before you give them to Isaac Guerendo.
That you better.
They're flying. Dude, Guerendo is so fast for his size. He does have great hands. It's like Christian McCaffrey light in Isaac Guerendo. The 49ers are going to have a stacked backfield. Again, Abanikanda had really no shot to get on the field, and the 49ers obviously evaluated that as what was going on too, and they brought in another wide receiver.
I want to remind you. Oh, yeah. Yes.
You put $2 in the ganja jar. We're going to go to you. F it. We'll do it live. The fucking thing sucks. It's Bill O'Reilly's greatest contribution to broadcasting.
To broadcasting overall.
All I will remember of his pretty much salacious, scandalous, full of shit career.
You know what? And it's still, by the way, thank you for that gift, Bill. I mean, that is a gift for all of us. And thank you for whoever was rolling on that and then decided to distribute it to the rest of the world. And that goes to show you what kind of guy he may have been behind the scenes, because anyone who's leaking that out means that they really don't like you and want to protect you.
Was that Inside Edition or Current Affair? What was that?
I think I think it was Inside Edition, but it was glorious when it showed up. And yes, fuck it, we'll do it live. You can't say we're live anymore without that coming to the front of your brain.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live is just the way you say that now forever. So I want to say something about Keenan Allen. You are big on this idea that Keenan Allen is someone that should be had by the Niners. And frankly, anyone looking at wide receiver, yes, Keenan Allen should be looked at. There's another name there, though, that I want to just briefly go over with you. Amari Cooper's another guy who doesn't really have a home right now. Amari Cooper was part of what I would call the second greatest offensive play of the 2024 season. The Josh Allen running and catching his own touchdown into the end zone against the 49ers. Remember that was Amari Cooper. He threw a short pass to Amari Cooper. Cooper is getting stood up near the goal line. Cooper gives the ball, throws the ball, and they're still behind the line of scrimmage, throws the ball back to Josh Allen. It became a pass. Cooper throws the ball to Josh Allen, who then runs it through Niners on his way to the end zone. It was Josh Allen's greatest play in his MVP season. It was, I think, the second greatest play behind what Lamar Jackson's touchdown pass was against the Bengals.
I thought for sure you were going to go Saquon Barkley backwards.
Not the backwards leap. No, actually, you know what? That's fourth to me, because I loved the Baker Mayfield play completed with Bosa escorting him out of bounds when he's getting stood up by Bosa and then still finds a way to throw that. That sent that game, that tied that game before it got to overtime. And then, of course, Moody, after 4 misses, finally wins it. But that was great.
Kicking competition yesterday, everybody hit their field goals. Everyone. No one missed a field goal in the kicking competition, which means it's Moody's job to lose. Unless Moody's missing field goals, they want to make fetch happen. They want to make Moody happen. If he hasn't missed any field goals, there's nothing to report in any kicking competition. There is no competition until he starts missing anything. I believe anyway.
And Debo's no longer there to yell at everyone on the special teams sideline, so that's nice. But you're right.
Tabor Pepper.
It's unbelievable. But again, Keenan Allen, yes. I just think Amari Cooper's another one to keep in the back of your mind. Take a look. If you want a receiver to just kind of solidify and calm things down in the wide receiver room, I think Cooper's another guy to look at.
My problem is, and I'm going to hold situations again, you cannot show up in Buffalo with a great chance to have a great season with an MVP having one of his finest seasons ever and do nothing. Keenan Allen did so much more in a shaky up and down who got fired this week, this team sucks season than Amari Cooper did in a great situation. So that's why I'm a Keenan Allen guy. Plus, the Northern California thing, I just think it works and makes more sense.
He's also he's also a season removed from one of the greatest catches in an NFL season. Monday Night Football, I believe it was against the Jets. Keenan Allen made such an unbelievable one-handed catch in that game. I will forever remember it. And Keenan Allen has the capability. He has been, he was WR1 for the Chargers. Keenan Allen was absolutely every bit of that guy. So he's got more in the tank for sure.
By the way, Crazy Juice, getting back to the 49ers backfield, goes CMC, Garendo, and Jordan James. And yeah, another reason why Izzy Abinaconda was let go, because rookie Jordan James looks good. Just looks good. What has he done yet? He hasn't run against pads. He hasn't done anything yet.
Okay.
But he looks good. By the way, since we got Jordan Watkins, who we have talked about zero. When we talk about all the 49ers wide receiver problems and who's in, who's out, who's Jordan Watkins, this kid tore up the SEC, and we haven't really talked about him at all. When we talk about the under the radar X factors and guys who could just make everybody on the 49ers life easier by showing up and actually having a contribution to make during a rookie year, you put Jordan James and Jordan Watkins on top of your Jordan's list right now for the 49ers. If either one of those guys has a YEAR, they are going to the playoffs.
And I would say this much: the Anaconda thing reminds us that for some reason we are more capable in our minds of thinking that a running back we've never heard of is going to make an impact before we think wide receiver. And it's a couple of reasons. I think the position that you can come into the NFL and make an impact immediately, running back's one of those positions. Running back is one where, because again, the job is still, take the ball and run it, right? And there's so much happening for you in a play as running back. Receiver is so much about learning the offense, learning the route tree, et cetera. It generally takes a little longer for that to kick in. And so rookie wide receivers are rarely having the kind of impact that a rookie running back can. And the league is just so used to turning over running backs that we're just more comfortable with the idea that there could be a guy we haven't heard of until the end of training camp that's going to make an impact at that position as opposed to wide receiver. So that's probably why. But yes, if you're a rookie wide receiver with the Niners, if you're even a guy with very little experience, you have to know this is the chance. Debo gone, Aiyuk injured, Jennings upset with his contract. Like this is it. This is the chance to make an impact right now.
We have well over 100 people in the room. We aren't even at 60 likes yet. We're 125 watching. We're not even at 60 likes. We like to get that like to viewer ratio to at least, be 2 to 1. So if you would, please, with no cost to you or anyone in your family, just tap the thumbs up button if you would, please. We have been talking 49ers. We've been talking training camp. We've been looking at West Coast rivalries, real or implicit rivalries for Kyle Shanahan to be chasing down. We're talking about back of the end roster machinations. We got training camp, though, open everywhere in the NFL, Sammy. And a couple stories coming out of a couple cities that usually get a little of attention. And let's start with this morning with the New York Jets trying to show everybody that they're ready to be in midseason form right now because Justin Fields was carted off the field today. Mike Greenberg is literally shitting his pants on ESPN. And Mike Greenberg is a dramatic little bitch, apparently, because I guess it's just a toe injury and everything's fine. And it's no big deal. But when a quarterback does get carted off, that's never good news. Good news does not travel by cart.
By cart? No, not at all.
During training camp. And by the way, has anyone ever done less? Mike Greenberg, I don't get it. I've never gotten it on Mike Greenberg. I don't get it. Like, to me, he's just so icy and detached and not funny and not warm and not welcoming and not interesting. And he, sure, he knows an awful lot. He has memorized a million lists, but none of them are interesting to me. I can go get a list of what he's making a list of on the internet. I don't get the Mike Greenberg phenomenon. I never got Mike and Mike as a morning show.
I think the Greeny Golick thing, when you go back, there was a good juxtaposition. You and I got to know Golick a little bit. This is going way back. I'm talking about the year 2000. Golick came to visit back when Tony Bruno and Golick did that show. So before it was Mike and Mike, Tony Bruno did the show with Mike Golick. And we got a chance to see Golick. It was, I believe, for a Raiders rally. They came out, and it was pretty cool. The fans loved them. That show was on in the Bay Area, and KMBR.
Yet another career opportunity that Tony Bruno looked at, spit it in his eye, and just
I love Tony dearly, and yes, Tony had some amazing years. By the way, he had some amazing years there at ESPN. He had some amazing years at Fox as well, with him and Siciliano doing a great show, the extravaganza at Fox as well. But when it was Bruno and Golick, we had a chance to see Golick, get to know him, and I got to see at that point what Golick does, because Golick played the part of sort of the athlete. And I don't want to say it's sort of like he let the person next to him be ethereal, so that Golick could be the guy that was more talking about sort of
the joke in Bristol, because I was there during the
yes you were
all of Mike and ESPN Radio's growth, and every producer behind the scenes just called him the Jew and the jock.
That's hilarious. And there is a little, and I would say that before it was even, when it was Tony and Mike, you could still sense Tony was the guy who got to come forward with the facts, and then Mike would be the guy that kind of represented being on the field and executing that way. And there was more of like the jovial, I'm the guy that's sort of eating and in the locker room, and he played that up well, and I think it worked very well with Greeny, because Greeny got to seem like the scientist next to Golick. It was almost, so that's where it built up for him. And that followed him, and good for him. He took it full advantage of that. And yes, and back to the Jets, like you're saying, the idea that the season hinges on Fields anyway, is why this should be scary. So whether or not he is okay, and we see right now that Fields is basically okay. But what's beautiful about this for Jets fans and anyone else is the idea that what Fields does is going to dictate your season should be terrifying to every Jets fan. And I understand there hasn't been a reason not to be terrified for a long time as a Jets fan, but the Fields thing, the only reason Fields felt okay in Pittsburgh for a couple of reasons. A, Russell Wilson was the starter and didn't start the season because his toe was injured in training camp. So that's why he got the job. The fact that this thing is on Fields, when Larry and I went through every quarterback room, Damon, what I told Larry was the quarterback room with the Jets looks fine if there was a QB1. They've got a great, like Fields and then everyone behind it. That looks okay. It looks like you've got a nice room there. If we
to Rod Taylor, who again, not a guy you ever want in charge of getting you through anything in a season.
No.
For a couple, if for 3 weeks you had to start to Rod Taylor, you can go 1-2, 2-1.
Yes, you're going to stay afloat.
Adrian Martinez, again, no one knows anything. K-State Rook. Brady Cook, again, 1 year in the NFL. It ain't pretty. If Justin Fields were to go down, look at it this way: with Justin Fields, the Jets are kind of fucked. Without him,
I don't even know. Without him, it just doesn't even make sense. And look, as I've told you, by the way. So here's the other thing: if Fields is injured more than this, I've told you there are 2 quarterback rooms in training camp right now. If you are making a bet on who is going to start week 1 for certain teams, I would say hold your money when you're looking at the New York Giants and hold your money when you're looking at the Cleveland Browns. Those are 2 quarterback rooms who the rest of the league, if they run into quarterback troubles, they're going to be calling those teams to see if one of those guys are available. Because in New York with the Giants, I'm telling you right now, with the right package, if you were missing a quarterback and you were calling about either Russell Wilson or, of course, Jameis Winston, there's an opportunity to get one of those 2 guys for sure. And with Cleveland, if you're calling to get Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco, both of those should be at least worthy of a conversation if you're in Cleveland. So those are 2 rooms that are going to be getting phone calls for sure.
Well, and the one thing that we went through today, the real exercise of the Justin Fields injury, is it didn't take 30 seconds for the name Kirk Cousins to be used attached to the New York Jets. And this is what it's going to be. This is the fire drill. This is the standard operating procedure. The first quarterback goes down this year. Kirk Cousins' name will be attached to that opening everywhere. There will be no other first name that is brought up as a potential he could come in here and change things. Kirk Cousins is going to, I believe, be in another uniform at some point in time this year. Don't you?
It's a great call. And for those, as I've said many times, watch the series Quarterback on Netflix right now. You'll get insight into Jared Goff, insight into Joe Burrow, and insight into Kirk Cousins in what was a very up and down season for him, that first season in Atlanta where Penix is drafted and then, of course, sees the field because, as we learn in that series, by the way, Cousins was much more injured than just ineffective last season. There was definitely, he was hurt last season, Cousins. And so I do believe in Cousins. I think Cousins in this league is capable of being better than the quarterback on the other side more weeks than not. I believe in Cousins.
I mean, I think he's a pro. I think he is the right guy to set a tone in a locker room. He is a good guy. He's a Boy Scout for sure. He is first team all business NFL Hall of Famer when it comes to the contracts that he's been able to pull. But Kirk Cousins in prime time, you are going to lose that game instantly. I mean, Kirk Cousins, when it is on Kirk Cousins to change the narrative of Kirk Cousins outside of one, do you like that moment?
You like that?
Which came 3 uniforms ago, by the way.
It did.
We are 3 uniforms removed from do you like that? Kirk Cousins is good enough to be a bridge quarterback at this point.
He also threw for 5
future.
He did throw for 500 yards in a game last season, in a game that mattered quite a lot against the divisional opponent, which they eventually swept in Tampa.
And how many weeks in a row without a touchdown and only interceptions?
Awful. Three. Brutal. No. Absolutely pathetically brutal for that stretch, and that's why he lost that job. I do want to remind everyone that he did win a playoff game, Kirk Cousins. He did beat the Saints in a playoff game with an awesome touchdown pass to Kyle Rudolph to finish that game. But prime time, I argue that every game in the NFL is prime time. I mean, when you're dreaming as a kid of playing in this league and playing in front of people that matter, I mean, in the NFL is prime time. But Cousins, certainly, first of all, we're talking about the Jets here. The Jets could use Kirk Cousins, yes, of course. And
This is an upgrade in terms of quality, starting NFL quarterback over Justin Fields, and there's nothing to debate.
let it be that. Let the silence speak for that statement. It is just the truth. So for the Jets,
look at you like Vin Scully, just laying out, just letting this, just let the silence tell the story. Just lay out.
Because when you're right, there's no need to retort that. You have simply hit it on the head. Cousins, and any Jets fan, first of all, Jets fans shouldn't be excited about Justin Fields yet, right? I mean, he hasn't done anything for the Jets yet. There's no reason to be overly excited about that. And it would be hard. Ask any Bears fan. It would be hard to get excited about an entire season with Fields under center. It just would be.
What do the Dallas Cowboys need more, Sam? A real running back to help their offense, or a roll of duct tape to put over Jerry Jones's mouth so he doesn't say something stupid yet again about players that his entire franchise is built upon, for goodness sakes? What Jerry Jones had to say yesterday about Micah Parsons, and then while saying that, take a shot at his $60 million starting quarterback at the same time, too. It's like, dude, someone needs to take the keys away from Grandpa. He is no longer safe out on the road. He's endangering himself. He's a danger to others. For those of you who do not know what Jerry Jones said, he basically was talking about ongoing negotiations with Micah Parsons, and then says, it's hard to know what to pay him because even if he's there, he might not be there. In other words, he's accusing guys of getting hurt playing for the Dallas Cowboys, which, by the way, happens in football games. For those of you who are new to the sport, there are an awful lot of injuries. And Jerry Jones was basically shitting on the concept of paying his A-plus players A-plus money because of the same universe that everyone exists in all at the same time.
He was trying to take credit for paying his players. The statement started in the right place, which is, and we can all believe this. The Cowboys pay their players. I mean, if anything, the Cowboys should be accused of potentially paying too much for their players. So the Cowboys pay players. And he was suggesting, yes, we pay our players and we're ready to pay. But Micah did miss 6 games last season. Now, what was horrible about that statement is that Micah only missed 4 games last season. So he's saying 6 and it was actually 4. So that's brutal. And then within the same breath, he says, and who am I to talk about underpaying? We have the highest paid quarterback, $60 million for Dak Prescott, and he also missed games. So that statement might be okay. What happened was TJ Watt came out and tweeted that, way to go, Jerry, for calling out your players for getting injured while trying to win for you. Way to motivate the guys. And that is what you're speaking to, Damon. In other words, if you're talking about injuries, and again, these are guys that got injured while on the field for you, it is brutal to talk about that, and it has gone too far. And I should love that this is happening in Dallas. I don't know why I like when the Cowboys are good. I think I like that measuring stick for the Eagles. As an Eagles fan, I like when the Cowboys are good. I like when that game means a lot.
Dude, they're like the Raiders. They make the league more interesting when they're good.
And frankly, it's also been great over the second half of my lifetime as a sports fan. They're often good enough to put themselves in position to be in big games that they then lose. And that there's a little smile that comes on my face for that also, right? Like a season where they just don't make the playoffs is not that memorable. Cowboy losses in the playoffs, Tony Romo mishandling a snap against Seattle in a kick that's going to win the game for them. Like, these are the moments we want. We want the Cowboys in the playoffs in games where we can then say, aha, you didn't quite get it done. And I'll remind everyone, my favorite statistic regarding the Cowboys is this, Damon. Number one, they had to watch an NFC championship last season that involved not one, but 2 teams from their division. The Commanders and the Eagles in the NFC championship while the Cowboys were at home watching it. And because the Commanders were in that NFC championship game, every single team in the NFC, every one of them, Panthers, Cardinals, Falcons, whatever team you think sets the bar on the low end of the NFC right now, picture that team in your mind. Every single one of them, Chicago Bears, every single one of them has been in the NFC championship game since the last time the Cowboys were. The Cowboys are last in line for waiting to get into the NFC championship game. They have the longest drought of the NFC championship game in the entire NFC. And that, for you and I who grew up watching football in the 90s, is almost impossible to believe, but that is the truth.
Yeah, again, the Carolina Panthers been in the NFC title game
Recently.
Yeah. That's something else.
2015. I mean, 20 Falcons, we all know 28-3. Arizona Cardinals lost that NFC Championship to the Panthers that year. I mean, these are teams that you think, the Bears, the Jay Cutler injury, were in the NFC Championship hosting it against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. All of these teams that you think haven't been there, no, go back and look for it. They were there. Tampa, you might think, Tampa was really there. Yeah, they won the Super Bowl with Brady, remember. So these things have happened, and the Cowboys haven't been there since.
I don't think there's anything that trended across social media more than yesterday of the, and we got to get Siciliano on here. Actually, we don't.
It's, by the way, that is going to happen soon. I have an update on that I'll talk about with you a little bit when we get off, but that will be happening soon.
I'm looking forward to having Andrew. I know Andrew wouldn't want to talk about this because the constantly getting pantsed Cleveland Browns find a way to step on their own dicks every single time. Like, you fucking losers, all of you, even your social media team is full of galactic losers who in the moment will spit the bit. So here are the Browns unveiling this new helmet that they're going to be bringing out. And instead of it being the Browns helmet, it's going to be a black helmet with the orange stripe. And they've got this big inflatable helmet out on the raft, out on the river. Why they're trying to work aquatics into this, I do not know. But a photographer falls off the damn. So nobody's talking about the helmet or the new uniforms, just the photographer who was backing up and falls off the damn raft. And they're doing it right in front of, like, I forgot what the actual, like, they had a dancing mascot for, like, boner pills or something in front of them too, like manscaping or something. Like, the whole thing went from uniform unveil to simply ridiculous.
It's amazing because my version of that was simply, so Andrew's there at training camp and he put out the pictures of the helmet. And the only thing I thought, again, as a Philadelphia guy, you put black and orange together. And that's Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers. I love black and orange for a couple of reasons. I love black and orange because of Halloween. I'm an October birthday, and Halloween's my favorite holiday. And then, of course, the Flyers being black and orange as well. I love black and orange as a Giant. Look, as a Giants guy, you love black and orange. So when I saw the black and orange for the Browns, I'm thinking that looks awesome. And Andrew put a picture of the helmet on there, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of matte and cool. I thought this is great. The idea that it's going to be remembered for that is, like you said, very Browns. So you guys
can't get out of your own way.
It's so difficult. And again, what's going to hurt the Browns, the Deshaun Watson thing is bad, but as much as I said earlier that the Shanahan thing can be, oh, this is terrible.
Here it is.
This is just bad.
Look at this. Look at this person right here. This person.
This is just not.
Just
no. And, I'd love for that to be by design. You can see the reaction. It looks like they threw him a life jacket at the end there. So that's nice. But the Deshaun Watson thing, yes, people talk about with the Browns, and that's the issue with quarterback. But much like I said earlier, if you are someone who doesn't love Kyle Shanahan, someone you should have your eye on is Jim Harbaugh, because now he's back in the league, and maybe he'll do, if you think Shanahan can't do enough, let's see if Harbaugh can do enough. The interesting thing,
dude wipes. It was the dude.
Okay, dude wipes. Yeah, dude wipes. There you go.
And so the dude wiped himself out.
Dude wipe out.
Dude wipe out in front of the dude wipe thing. Oh, dude.
It's amazing. So that's brilliant for, and in a way, maybe we say congratulations to the social media team, because the Browns are certainly in the news for that. And you're looking for viral moments from a social media team. That is a viral moment.
Is that the definitive Browns highlight of the year? Will a single thing happen in any game that is a better, more representative highlight of that franchise than that right there?
So I will give the Jameis touchdown against the Steelers in the snow would be their on the field highlight resonating from 2024. That is their signature awesome moment from 2024. You're right. Right now
they lost, right?
No, they that was the game they beat Russell Wilson. They did beat the Steelers in that game. So congrats. That was a beautiful Jameis moment, and we'll all take it for that. But yes, this now might surpass that in regards to views online. And the reason I bring up the Harbaugh and Kyle Shanahan thing is, Baker Mayfield is, if you're a Browns fan, and there aren't many in the chat here, of course, but I would love to know from Browns fans how they feel about Baker. Do you root for Baker in Tampa? Because there's got to be a part of you that understands. I mean, Baker Mayfield won a playoff game, beat the Steelers in the playoffs. And the Browns, understandably, he did not have a great next season. It didn't, and Baker was not trending after that moment in the right direction and ended up, of course, Carolina, the Rams, where he beats the Raiders in 30 seconds on a Thursday night game after showing up 2 days earlier. And then, of course, ends up in Tampa and now has the Bucs in the playoffs. 3 straight seasons for him. The Bucs have been in the playoffs 5 straight seasons. They're the only NFC team, by the way, that's been in the playoffs 5 straight seasons. But when you look at Baker play, do you root for that? I mean, think about it, Damon. If you were a Browns fan, it's not Baker. It's not like Baker left under some terrible circumstance. I think part of you has to love Baker. You drafted him. He should be your guy. He's not. He's leading another team to the playoffs.
Who are you to quit on Baker Mayfield? I guess would be my question. Like, who are you? What great plans did you have without Baker Mayfield that will instantly be better than the plans that you have with Baker Mayfield? If there was one franchise that has officially afforded themselves a chance to let a competent quarterback develop, you'd think it'd be them. How many different starting quarterbacks have they had over the last 30 years?
It's that jersey online that you see where they've added the name, right?
The names.
You just keep adding the names, and I mean, Spurgeon Wynn, obviously Johnny Manziel. I mean, there's an incredible list of names there, and it's rough. It is admittedly rough.
Better first name, Spurgeon or Equiminius? Somebody did say that Equiminius St. Brown instantly has the greatest name in Niners history, and I'm like, what? Would we forget Talanoa Hufanga so quickly?
Please do not. Please do not.
Talanoa Hufanga so quickly.
That's spectacular. Yeah.
So one other thing, if I could, because we mentioned it, and I kind of wanted to do it while we were talking more Niner specific stuff. But there's this or this illusion that there was some Brandon Aiyuk news yesterday, because you basically got John Lynch saying that there's no timeline for his return. Well, the only reason why he had to say that is because Matt Mayoko, who I don't know who he was talking to or who he got it from, came out a couple weeks ago on KNBR and told Murph, like, hey, he heard that Brandon Aiyuk could be ready for week 1. Really? Who'd you hear that from? Dr. Pretends a lot? Because that's just, again, observable reality said, well, there's no way that's going to happen. And so all the 49ers did yesterday was confirm observable reality. Of course, Brandon Aiyuk still has no timeline for his return. How about this? Don't expect to see him before Halloween. I have just given you a more solid timeline than anyone associated with the media or the Niners ever has. Do not expect to see him before Halloween. I can even say it's probably safer to say don't expect to see him before you eat your Thanksgiving dinner.
It's the kind of injury. So I believe it was week 7 where he sustained the injury. And had that been week 10, 11, it's the kind of injury that could have knocked out his entire 2025 season.
Right.
It's not far from being one of those that says, we will just see you later. Tyrese Halliburton will just see you after the yearbook comes out for this coming season. I mean, it could have been that. We're talking, I mean, it's a very short distance from missing the entire season to the fact that he's going to be able to come back. And he will set that timetable of what the rehab looks like, etc. So you're right. It's not surprising because there wasn't a timetable. So this isn't taking away a timetable that we had. This is the simplest statement, which is right now we don't want to put it on there. And if you remember, it was actually Mike McDaniel had a great quote last season when Tua went down with the concussion against the Bills on that Thursday night football game where everyone saw and it was ugly and he was on the field again with his hands in the air. Mike McDaniel that week said, I'm not even discussing when this guy's coming back on the field. And to his credit, guess what? Tua did come back. Tua came back last season and actually played all right after that. But it's brilliant for his coach, and in this case, John Lynch, the GM, to put no pressure whatsoever on the player.
Right.
That's the right answer. No timetable is brilliant because now nobody can go back. Everyone likes to say, oh, I collected the receipts. I'm going to show you. There's no receipt now. There's no receipt on when we thought Aiyuk would be back. So whenever he comes back, that's it. And that's what's nice about that statement. I love that Lynch said that. Go ahead with all the headlines you like, but that's why I have the kind of fervor I do about Jennings, because I feel like the season is going to have to be defined at that position well before we see Aiyuk.
Like and subscribe. I think we got great football talk for you whenever Sammy comes on by. We got great football talk for you, sports talk for you on the Plus. Make sure you like Thinking Out Loud with Ciliano and Sam as well. A like across both channels if you would please. And thank you so very, very much. Sammy, there's just a little something else to talk about today.
Well, please give it to me. I love that we got the Cowboys in there, and I got to share that nugget about them not being in the NFC Championship. That kind of just warms my heart.
That is a great nugget. Today, we got the news this morning that a piece of our childhood passed away. Hulk Hogan, at the age of 71, died reportedly of cardiac arrest. He had a heart attack this morning in Clearwater, Florida, and was pronounced dead on arrival when he got to the hospital. Sammy, I don't want to talk about the guy. I don't want to talk about, the shady, weird, MAGA-y, like the negative Bubba the Love Sponge sex scandal. I mean, I don't want to talk about any of that right now. There'll be days for that. Not the day you pass away. I just want to hand some flowers. And I got to tell you, I was thoroughly a Randy the Macho Man Savage, Rowdy Roddy Piper. I liked heels. I didn't like face guys. I liked George the Animal Steel. I liked Ricky the Steamboat Dragon. I never really was a Hulk Hogan guy. Agree or disagree? It's safe to say, Sammy, it's safe to say at one time he was the most recognizable athlete on the planet. Yes or no?
Yes. And
is it safe to say that he's the biggest name in wrestling for longer than any period of time other than maybe Ric Flair, who has strung a ridiculous amount of decades mattering and wrestling together. But Hulk Hogan had one of the longest careers in a sport that does not give a long career. Yes or no?
Yes, here's why. And the argument would be, to me, what you're prefacing is very important. As far as being famous for being a wrestler, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will be the name, if we're tying him back to wrestling, that might be the most famous name to come out of wrestling. But you are right. As far as being famous for being a wrestler, it is Hulk Hogan, and I don't know that you need to take other resumes when looking for that position.
I think it was Michael Jordan himself who knocked Hulk Hogan off the most recognizable athlete on the planet list.
There was a dominance, and not only that, there are other names so associated with Hulk Hogan from that time. I mean, Andre the Giant, in many ways, it's because of Hulk Hogan's popularity that Andre the Giant was as popular as he was. The Junkyard Dog. I mean, there are names iconically burned in my mind for wrestling. I mean, there was an entire cartoon drawn up for. I mean, think about that. Think about how most people would want to keep wrestling away from their kids because it is overly violent or toxic, or even the way it's written is so close to cursing and bleeping out words and whatnot. And yet, Hulk Hogan's popularity was such there was a cartoon made about wrestlers with him in mind.
Was different back then. Wrestling was a lot more innocent in the early 80s, even though it didn't present innocently compared to what it's morphed into. It was a lot more innocent. Sammy, is it safe to say that Hulk Hogan makes the greatest heel turn in wrestling history? He went from say your prayers, eat your vitamins, Hulkamania, the bold yellow and orange colors, to the penciled in 5 o'clock shadow, the drawn in beard, Hollywood Hogan. He gave birth to a whole different generation of wrestling storylines when he went heel turn. It is safe to say that his body slam of Andre the Giant in WrestleMania 3 is the singular greatest highlight in the history of the sport, with all due respect to all of the, aerial phenomena and all the acrobatics that you see now. Him picking up and slamming Andre the Giant in WrestleMania 3 in front of what was at the time the largest group ever assembled to watch a sporting event, the Pontiac Silverdome. That was a seminal moment of my childhood, of your childhood, of anybody who's around 50 years old. If you were watching WrestleMania 3, you will never forget that in your entire life. It is burned in your mind.
It is forever that, because of what Andre the Giant represented also. I mean, there was just sort of a dominant, and again, size, right? I mean, because Hulk was not the largest. Hulk Hogan was not the largest wrestler, and Andre so clearly was. And so not only to defeat, but to body slam was so unheard of. It just felt so far from our minds that could possibly happen. I mean, again, for Hulk Hogan, for Hulkamania to sort of supersede WrestleMania, which is what it became, he was just, I don't know that you can separate Hulk Hogan. In other words, wrestling was Hulk Hogan. There were people that knew who Hulk Hogan was that really didn't know what wrestling was. That's my point there. People knew who Hulk Hogan was. And there was something about it, when you look at it, was really just, it was the arms and the bare chest. And there was something that even felt real. And I know this is WWF, WWE, we know it's not real, but there was something about Hulk that felt like, oh, he could wrestle in the Olympics. You look at Hulk Hogan, you would think, oh, he's the kind of guy who even has the body type, and there was a simplicity to how he presented that you really thought, wait, he's actually a dominant athlete. He's actually someone who could wrestle if the rules were real.
Those wrestlers are incredible athletes. I mean, they really are, especially with the modern, acrobatics that they all have in their routines now. I mean, you go back and you watch those early wrestling videos, it's like watching paint dry compared to modern wrestling.
Yes.
I mean, it's just everything is, sped up a million miles an hour with higher leaps, higher jumps, more daring everything now than before. Again, Andre the Giant being body slammed by Hulk Hogan, a seminal moment of my childhood, which if you showed it to a kid right now, they'd be bored by it. But
yeah, but for us, it was the definition of strength and dominance. That's really what it was.
He was Thunderlips, baby, in Rocky III. I Am a Real American, one of the great wrestling intro theme songs of all time. So here's the deal. Whether you liked Hulk Hogan or not, whether you cared about him or not, there is no denying his spot as the single most important wrestler ever.
Yes.
Are there bigger, iconic, more, like Andre the Giant certainly globally did things that maybe Hogan didn't do, Iron Sheik, Rowdy Piper, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, all the iconic guys, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, all of them are in line behind Hogan. Whether you liked him or not didn't matter. You cannot deny his place as the biggest, there could be no bigger name on top of the wrestling marquee than Hulk Hogan, and you got to give him that.
And endorsing products. Here's the other thing. He was mainstream, and I understand wrestling was more mainstream then. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, it was almost, it's tough to put it in perspective because it really catered to children in a way. You're right. There was a part of being young that I associate with wrestling, and I don't remember watching necessarily matches that way because he also showed up. He also endorsed so much. Hulk was also a part of endorsing products that mattered as a child. Where you saw Hulk Hogan outside of what he was doing as a wrestler, you would see him in so much that was mainstream that Hogan was just, I mean, we're talking poster on the wall. There was like a Lamborghini, right? There was like a Lamborghini Countach, a Ferrari Testarossa, and Hulk Hogan, and maybe Eric Dickerson or Bo Jackson. Like those were the posters on my wall as a kid. That was it.
It was the poster on just about everybody's wall as a kid. It really was. Hogan was a big. Did you know that literally he and George Foreman are standing in the same room together, and there is a grill and a blender. And I can't remember who made the first choice, but obviously Hogan got stuck with didn't become one of the greatest selling product endorsed by an athlete of all time. The George Foreman grill did. Hulk Hogan had like a vitamin blender or something like that.
Okay. We all make choices.
We all make choices. And again, like the Hulk Hogan, the person, the Hulk Hogan, the dad, the Hulk Hogan, we have tapes to prove there was some racism in that man. The Hulk Hogan, the Bubba the Love Sponge sex scandal. The Hulk Hogan, his kids are killing people in cars, racing them in Florida. Hulk Hogan. Like there is an awful lot to not like about the guy, but Hulk Hogan, there's no denying. There is no denying what he was. And I'll tell you, Sammy, it's been a rough week for the 80s. Ozzy Osbourne passes away. We got Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played Theo in the Cosby Show, passing away. We had Hulk Hogan this morning, and not even an hour after the Hulk Hogan news, we learned that the greatest flugelhorn player of them all, Chuck Mangione, passed away. For those of you who don't know who Chuck Mangione is, real quick. My dad loved Feels So Good by Chuck Mangione. And I got to be honest with you, I love it too. It's freaking great. It's so melodic. It's wonderful. It's a great song.
Stamped in history, stamped in our minds forever, without question. And when you are an author of something like that, you live forever, truly.
Dude, if you can have a number one song in America with a flugelhorn, you have nothing left to prove. Like you've done it all. You've did that musically. You can't do more than that. Really, that's something else. So a rough week for nostalgia for sure. Rough week for 80s icons and celebs. I don't. Hopefully, there's no one next. Is everyone else going to make it through today?
They're supposed to come in threes. The fact that we're looking at fours.
Yes, four. I think we're good. I think we filled the bill. The last thing we need to do to take care of today's bill is, of course, give you today in history. Sammy, are you ready?
I'm so ready. I'm excited, and I have a feeling. I have a feeling there's going to be a couple here that really throw me for a loop.
Happy 61st birthday to Barry Bonds. 61st birthday to Barry Bonds. This guy, the fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame, again, whether you liked Hulk Hogan or not, doesn't matter. Whether you liked Barry Bonds or not, doesn't matter. There's no denying what he did and how he did it. And whether you liked how he did it or not, doesn't matter because everyone else is doing it that way. It was this guy belongs in the Hall of Fame. He is the single greatest hitter of all time, with all due respect to Shohei Ohtani and anyone else right now. Like to me, Barry Bonds' at-bat was the most stop what you're doing and watch moment baseball had to offer us.
There was nothing. Barry Bonds, I mean, again, look. If you hit 73 home runs in a season, that just, you have to understand how every game.
Radnich's greatest line ever.
Yes.
Should have stopped at 68.
Pretty amazing.
You stop at 68. You don't have the scandal. 73. Now we got to investigate some shit.
Right. 68. You're right. Would have been nice. No one's hitting 70. You get there, and now we got questions. That's a great line. It's a great line. And I was even thinking about it for just 68, 680 on the dial. Even that would have been nice, right? 68. That would have been forever burned together in history on that. But Bonds 73. So that season we're there. Pac-Bell Park is new, and everyone is there. You have to understand, to hit 73. Do you understand how every game, every at bat, it was a possibility? I mean, yeah. Judge hits 60, and that goes to show you. I mean, imagine 13 more. Barry Bonds, and again, this is his 61st birthday. On his 73rd, he should let's hope that by his 73rd, he's in the Hall of Fame. Bonds belongs in the Hall of Fame. This isn't a conversation for Hall of Fame. I think it's just obvious. Even if you want to make it a wing for players that we have questions about, that's fine. But to do what Barry Bonds does in the sport where the hardest thing to do in all the sports is hit a baseball where players are not. And the only guarantee of where a player is not is in the water, which, by the way, they made splash landing there for him.
And everyone thought that left-handers were going to eat for free in that ballpark. That is the hardest home run in Major League Baseball. To put it in the water is the hardest home run in Major League Baseball. You are at ocean level. You are, you got no freaking, you're on water level. You're on the water. It's a thick, humid night, always muggy. The ball does not fly out of that ballpark. Barry Bonds hit balls into the water in a way that no one else did. Nobody else. The other great left-handed hitters who have come through here, he made it look easy.
It was effortless. I mean, everything about Bonds at the plate felt effortless. And all you have to do is go back and watch. I mean, Barry Bonds to be intentionally walked with the bases loaded. I mean, there's so many moments that define who Bonds was as a hitter. And yeah, he was. I mean, look, he was not trying to be nice to a lot of people.
Bonds, Eric Gagne at bat. The most juiced up at bat of the juice era. That thing was unbelievable. And
juice on juice.
Give credit to Gagne. Just kept on firing fastballs. Just hit this, motherfucker. Hit this. And then Bonds did.
And he did. And I'll remember, the 2002 World Series. Again, I'm Philly in everything about it, but my dad adopted one team, the Angels. And so we also rooted for the Angels. And that was tremendous to see them win the World Series. But the greatest definitive moment of that World Series will certainly be Bonds hitting the ball outside of it. I mean, just gone in Angel Stadium in a way that Tim Salmon had the greatest line ever. I've never seen a ball hit that far.
Yeah. Rally monkey. And that Bonds home run is the only thing anyone will remember from that postseason.
Russ Ortiz might have something to say about it, but yeah.
Hey. By the way, I think I'm seeing Russ Ortiz tomorrow night.
Wow.
I'm going to the Giants Mets game and then going to the Kuiper show at the Gotham Club.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I think they're gonna have Russ Ortiz and Krupp there, and they invited Jillian and I to come join them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun tomorrow night at the old ball yard.
Love that.
Happy 62nd birthday to Carl Malone. What's funny is his wife really thought he was a mailman. When he was introduced, like, he's the mailman. And he did not work for the U.S. Postal Service.
No, he didn't.
Happy birthday. Is it safe to say that there is maybe no more fit, attractive 56-year-old woman on the planet right now than Jennifer Lopez? She's still got her fastball, man.
My friend Jason, who was the entertainment correspondent for ABC News Radio, for the entire network. So he went to many. He was on the red carpet constantly. He said Jennifer Lopez, to look at her in person was almost painful. Her skin was so perfect. Her face was so beautifully put together. He just said she defined beauty for him unlike anybody else.
Like hard to look at, right? Like,
yes. Just like there was just sort of perfect. You almost didn't want to affect it with your eyes gazing at it.
I'm doing some wrestling, shirt off style. Carl, that is incredible right there. My buddy John Clark in college would always, you'd ask him about anything. Hey, John, you going to do that? And he'd look at you and he'd go, I'm going to do a shirt off style.
It's great. What a tremendous line.
Let's see. Happy birthday. So we have one of the great power forwards of all time. And we also have Kyle Kuzma turning 30 today. Somewhere to celebrate, I'm sure he's wearing the dumbest sweater you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, Kuzma. I thought we all thought he was going to be a great Laker. It just didn't quite turn out that way.
It didn't turn out that way. And again, once you get into that Kardashian things, there's a reason why those girls get rented, never bought.
Spit you out quick.
Today in 1847. By the way, Tony Bruno, you know exactly what he would say when he hears this. This is our second Tony Bruno reference of the day. Today in 1847, Brigham Young brought 148 Mormon pioneers to the Salt Lake Valley, establishing Salt Lake City. And the only thing Tony would tell you is that if you're going to bring them Young. Which I believe was the official slogan of the Epstein Island folks,
For sure.
Good God. If you're going to bring them young. Tony never missed a joke.
Oh, man.
That joke. Let's see. Today in 1974, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that Richard Nixon did not have the authority to withhold subpoena White House tapes, that they order him to surrender in the Watergate scandal. And all I can tell you is we don't live in that world no more.
It's over. My dad still contends to this day that, and I don't even know why, I've never challenged him on this, his favorite president was Nixon. It's just something that's always stuck with me that he said that.
You want to know what? He was Ron Bruce's favorite president too, but he had a really good reason.
Okay.
When I would say, Dad, why was Richard Nixon your favorite president? He said, because he got me out of Vietnam.
Done. You're right. And my dad, it's probably that for Raymond also, but I'm going to challenge him. I'm going to push back on that.
Let's see. What else do we have? So today, again, I'm going to stop saying that we don't do movies because we do movies here on the Today in History. You'll get three significant openings today.
I love it.
Today in 1987, the greatest movie Mark Harmon's ever been in, Summer School, with Chainsaw and Dave. Today in 1987, Summer School was released.
Find an excuse to watch that movie. At least to start it and just tell me you can't get. I mean, I understand that it may not hold up, quote unquote, in certain ways, but I watch. How many times did I watch Summer School? It's funny that you would go to a video store back when that mattered, but how many times you would pick Summer School again? You just saw it. Yeah. And you're picking it again. You want to see it again, and you don't even know why. But there are just Summer School is what a tremendous movie. Yes,
great movie. By the way, the woman who played the busty foreign exchange student, would go on to play a lot of vagina in Austin Powers.
Yes, you're right. Thank you for that. Yes.
Today, in 1996. Now imagine she's white. A Time to Kill, released in theaters. McConaughey's biggest turn as an actor. Like that took Matthew McConaughey from the guy who played Wooderson in Dazed and Confused to a guy who would go on and eventually be Matthew McConaughey.
No, it was just, he was serious. He delivered in the most serious moment. I remember that iconically being in the movie theater for that and what it felt like when he delivered that line. And the whole movie's written for that moment.
That moment. That's it.
And he absolutely hits it. Absolutely hits it. And good for McConaughey that he now, and amazing that McConaughey still somehow just defines cool for everyone, right? Like that's, if you had to say, what does Matthew McConaughey really define in this world? It is just being cool. So
that's what he does. That's his job. As much as it is being like he does Salesforce commercials. By the way, you wouldn't believe what they pay him to do those. But he does Salesforce commercials, a couple of movies. Some of them feel like they might be Oscar contenders. Others feel like that's straight to DVD.
Good for him.
Like that guy fucks. It's like Dave McConaughey.
It's great. And he's a Longhorns, good for him. He's a sports fan too. I love seeing him.
Nobody who's got a freer roam of a sideline who doesn't belong in a sideline than Matthew McConaughey. Maybe
Snoop at USC at one point, but yeah, you're right.
Snoop does get around. He does. Let's see. I got another one for you. Today in 1998, 5 Academy Awards and the single greatest opening battle scene ever filmed, Saving Private Ryan, opened today in 1998. You cannot sit through the first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan and be unaffected. That is so the hardcore depiction of real war ever put on a screen. I really believe that.
The movie could have ended after 8 minutes, really. I think that it would have been up for all the same awards had it ended at 9 minutes. That movie is that scene is that impactful. I mean, understanding what they're doing is, of course, important. Now, thank God that we've added movies to this. Had we done Today in History and not mentioned that would have been just a humongous miss by us anyway. But let me say this about Saving Private Ryan in the theater the way that I saw it. I actually was a touch late, and it was because of this movie that I'll never be late again. So all I missed, though, Damon, was, remember, it opens with it is the old
graveyard.
He's at the graveyard. So I don't get any of that movie actually starts at a fairly low level. It doesn't start as intense. I walked into the movie theater as the first soldier is opening up the gate and gets, of course, the bullet. And he gets just the bullet through his helmet, through his head, right? So I was just floored. I didn't even hit my seat. I had to stand for those 5 minutes to watch it because who's going to move at that point once that started? Maybe I could say Jaws, and credit to Spielberg that he's on both of these. I've never been more affected by a movie than I have been by Jaws and Saving Private Ryan. That scene of just your jaw open for the entire time. And as I said, if the credits ran
right there,
greatest
war movie ever.
Right. Once Tom Hanks is now sort of in the bunker on the beach. If the credits ran, that movie wins all of the same awards.
By the way, Christopher saying Saving Ryan's Private. Actually, it's Shaving Ryan's Private.
Amazing.
Shaving Ryan's Privates. If you know, you know. There you go. Oh, wait, 2 other things to let you know about. Today in 2005, Lance Armstrong became the first rider to win the Tour de France 7 times. No follow-up information. That's all you need to know. Nothing else happened there. No after the fact. 7 Tour de France championships for Lance Armstrong, who today remains America's most beloved athlete and greatest cancer survivor ever.
And I think, are we still taking proceeds for the Livestrong bracelets that you sell at the Damon Plus merch show, right? Yeah, I think we can still get that. Yeah, Livestrong, and just continue to know that Lance Armstrong defined what it means to be a fair and just champion. That's it, right?
Great guy. You watch all these documentaries about what's happened since that 7th championship, and you just say to yourself, what a great guy who is just transparent and honest about everything and wouldn't throw any single one of his colleagues under the bus.
End of story.
Dick. We have a little something from Chef A, who is a member now for nearly 19 months. Shout out Otis Bird and his volunteer work in New Orleans. What is Otis doing in New Orleans?
I'd love to know that.
Is Otis in New Orleans right now volunteering and doing something?
I'd love that. My parents met at LSU. My mom is from New Orleans. I would love to know that.
Very nice. Well, whatever you're doing there, fantastic. And I tell you what, you can get yourself an Ike's in New Orleans. He's got a place in New Orleans now.
It's beautiful.
We will wrap up with this today in 2023. Twitter changed its name to Elon's preferred X. Elon remains the only person to prefer calling it X. And I can say that literally no one else on the planet has ever called it X, to the point where all these years after the fact, it is still referred to in parentheses, formerly known as Twitter, every single time it's brought up anywhere. Like you can try to change your own brand name all you want. If no one is going to go along with you, it's like when they took Candlestick and was like, it's called 3.com Park now.
Nope.
Or Candlestick is going to be called Monster Park now. Yeah, my ass. No, it's not. It's
kind of like Pac Bell. It's kind of like Pac Bell for me. That'll always be it. But even more so, it's almost as if Twitter X is as if, and I recall when Prince changed his name to a symbol, it's as if you changed it to something that I am not even allowed to say out loud. Something I cannot even actually say out loud. So I just, right? I still call Prince because it's I'd have to draw it otherwise. And that's almost how I feel about Twitter. If I'm sending you a text to go check something out, maybe I would write X, like check it out on X, because that's shorter for me to write. But if I'm saying it, it's Twitter, and it will always be, just like Prince will always be. Prince.
It's like it's the artist formerly known as Twitter. That's what Prince became. The
artist formerly known. That's precisely it.
There it is, kids. That's what we like to call a show on a Thursday. Thanks so much to Sam for stopping on by. Thanks to all of you for watching. You could spend your time anywhere, but you chose to spend it with us. We thank you so much for that. Hit like and subscribe generously on the way out, if you would, please, across both channels. And as always, we urge you to remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, they're gone.